getting into tax trouble. This is very important to understand this. There are tax preparers, there are enrolled agents, there are CPAs, there are tax attorneys. Now, what's the difference? Let's start with a tax preparer. A tax preparer can be somebody who gets a P-10 number from the IRS. And the reason why they need a P-10 number is because the IRS needs to know if you are preparing taxes for compensation. There are people who are a tax preparer who have to have a license. They're in a regulated state where they have to get a license. They have to take a test and they have to pass in their state and become licensed in that particular state. And they also have to have a P-10 number. So the difference is some people have to take a test, some people don't. The people who have to take a test and become licensed, they have to continue their education if they want to maintain and keep their license. So sometimes you're going to somebody who doesn't have a license. They're not regulated in their state. So it's up to them to learn about taxes, and some of them choose not to. So what they end up doing is data entry, a form of data entry. So you have to be mindful of this because you're getting people who are preparing your taxes and they don't know how to save you money. And so you have a business and you're wondering why each year you owe taxes. So if you're going to someone with just a PIN number and they're not continuing their education, this may hurt you financially because you may be overpaying in taxes. So one of the things you can do is ask. Say, hey, are we in a regulated state? Do your own due diligence and find out. And if they just have a PIN number, when is the last time you have engaged in continuing education? This is a good question to ask. And then ask them how many years you've been doing it. Do you have any education? Do you just do individual taxes? Now, if you're just a W-2 person and you just have one W-2, I feel like that may be okay to go to somebody with just a P-10 number in your state and they have many years of background with taxes. Now, if you're getting over to a Schedule C, you want somebody with a little bit more experience because then you start having forms like your 8995, your 8995A. They have thresholds that you have to watch out for. You need to know about estimated taxes quarterly. So you may want to go to somebody with more experience, and maybe there's somebody that's regulated. Also with a enrolled agent. An enrolled agent, let's move on to that, is somebody who has the privilege of representing you in all 50 states before the IRS. Now, they can prepare your taxes. They can also represent you. Say if there's an error, maybe they didn't make a mistake and maybe they did. And they have an error with the IRS. Maybe the IRS made a mistake. The IRS makes mistakes all the time. They're able to represent you with a 2848 before the IRS. They may even have you do an 8821 before representations to see if they even want to take on your case. Now, CPA is very knowledgeable in preparing taxes. They're very knowledgeable with S corps, partnerships, C corps when it comes to preparing your taxes. So a lot of people with corporations, S corps, they're making over $40,000 and now they're taking their disregarded entity, their LLC, into an S corp. A CPA is a good person for that. Now, they are also licensed in the state that they're in, but they are excellent at filing your taxes. And also you have a tax attorney. A tax attorney can represent you in the court, the tax courts. They don't always necessarily prepare taxes, but they can represent you in a tax court. You'll find a lot of tax attorneys who represent you in the court. An enrolled agent can represent you in all 50 states before the IRS. That's what they have the privilege of doing, but they cannot represent you in the tax courts. So that's what you have an attorney for. Okay, so I hope this shed some light on your tax situation so far as for picking and selecting a tax preparer, because this is hurting a lot of you guys. You're going to somebody. Let me just back up. You're going to the most reasonable, cheapest person, and this is hurting you, not helping you. It's hurting you. Who is continuing their education? They're practicing on a different level. If not, you're trying to pay the less money to prepare your taxes, you're going to pay in taxes up the yin yang. So step your game up. When you start moving into a partnership, S Corp, corporation, your taxes is going to be one of your biggest expenses. Now, if they understand how to save you money throughout the year by planning and strategizing, they're going to charge you more. You need to get this through your head. Stop being cheap inside your business, all right? Because you're going to pay for it in the long haul, because paying for cheap tax service is not going to save you money. A lot of people have a P10 number and they're just doing data entry and they don't have the knowledge to save you money throughout the year. Some people have all of the education in the world, but they're not going to share it with you. Their job is to do your taxes the most efficient way. I've seen CPAs like this. I've seen CPAs where I've worked with their clients and I say, well, why haven't you been doing estimated taxes? Well, what is that? And they've been in business for 5 years. So find someone you trust, number one. You have whatever you want to call it, a gut feeling, a God in you, your intuition. Go with that. Trust who you're, and then ask questions. The reason how you know that you have a good preparer, good road agent, good CPA, is they're a good attorney. They're going to educate you along the way. They're going to want you to challenge them. So the more you challenge them, the more they learn. We learn from our clients as well, not just our continuing education, but our clients teach us things because every situation is different. Now, have you ever went to a lawyer, called a lawyer, and they say they will have to review your case? That's how it is when you are an enrolled agent, a CPA, or a tax attorney. You have to go through documents. So a lot of times we want your prior year returns so that we can do an overview of your case. Your taxes are cases to us. We look through them, we evaluate them, and we see how we can help you. So I see so many people who get burnt because they want to pay the cheapest price for somebody to prepare their taxes. And I'm going to tell you something, you're going to pay by owing the IRS. And you don't want to do that. Pay somebody that they're worth. Figure out if they're worth it first. Do your due diligence on the person that you're hiring to do your taxes and make sure that they're worth it, but pay them what they're worth. They're going to save you money in the long run. You don't want to pay late failure to fail penalties, failure to pay penalties because you're scared to file your taxes because you're paying an astronomical amount every year. A good tax preparer, enrolled agent, CPA, they prepare your taxes. A tax attorney does a little bit different things, but they're going to educate you. They're going to be telling you things to do. Even if this is a separate service, you want to pay for this. You do not want to lose everything that you worked so hard for owing the IRS. And they're freezing your bank account. They're garnishing your wages, whether you're self-employed or a high earner. So make sure you ask questions. Make sure there's somebody that every time you talk to them, you're learning something. And another thing is make sure that they're open all year round. You don't want a seasonal person that they're just there for the season. That's their side hustle. That's just something they do on the side. Because what happens if you get a letter from the IRS in the middle of the year and they're nowhere to be found? So if you cheat, you're going to pay for it, okay? You're going to pay for it. There's no shortcut when it comes to taxes. Taxes are complex unless you are doing them every day and you're learning about them continuously. Then they're really complex. And then they're still complicated and complex because the laws change all the time. So stop trying to pay the least money to get your taxes done and you end up paying penalties, interest, and you're in debt with IRS. Trouble is easy to get into and very, 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 did I say very hard to get out of when it comes to the IRS. So choose wisely. Don't choose cheap. And find somebody that you can learn from on a consistent basis that is open all year round. This is Mrs. Jacqueline. And remember, the best credit to have is credit with God.